Hi guys, welcome to Bird's Eye View, and this is going to be my spoiler review for Season 4 of The Last Kingdom. Before we begin, don't forget to like and comment down below, subscribe and ring the bell to be notified whenever I do videos. I do them every single Wednesday, so make sure you keep a lookout for those. Throwing that spoiler warning up there because I'm going to be talking in depth about characters and certain plot details and whatnot. Can't really separate it, so I'm talking spoilers all the way through. I will apologise straight away if there's any names that I forget or pronounced wrong, because it's really hard to keep track of all the names considering the fact that a lot of them are very similar. I do really like how character development is really key in this season. There's a lot of politics going on in this season, back and forth with, you know, it's basically a big dick swinging competition with people like Ed Wood and then Uhtred and then the Danes, the Saxons, his sister, the brother, just everything. It's constantly going back for people to find place in this land and basically say who's in charge, who's not in charge, who's gonna yield, who won't yield. It's all about that, and the politics are really thick and fast in this season, and I quite liked it. Even during the quieter moments where there was debate and talking back and forth, the actors did really well there to kind of keep me interested, because there is plenty of times where if there's not a big battle or a big shocking moment going on, that a series can really get boring if it's just in those talking moments. But if you've got the right actors and you've got the right setting and the right dialogue, you could be really interested in it, and for the most part, I think they did really good in those moments. Uhtred's kids, they make an appearance, and they make a solid appearance through this season. His son and his daughter. Obviously, his son is obviously part of Christ, and his daughter is definitely more like him. Bit of a free spirit, can't be controlled and contained. I love the characterisation of them together and how they play off each other. Really loved all of that. And they're really quite prominent through the season as well. I really quite enjoyed having it. It was a nice new layer to add on to Uhtred as well. Having his kids, and just, it is a weakness to him. LBRY, right, let's get into that. I mean, I could see I saw it was going to go all tits up, and tits up it went, because it was too early in the season. I think it was like episode 3, maybe episode 4, I can't really remember. So I was like, well, if he's going back this early on in the season, surely it's all going to go wrong. And oh god, it went so wrong. Bjorka dying. That was heart-wrenching. That sucked. That's one of the hardest deaths I've had to deal with in this season, in this series as a whole. Really, just didn't expect it. I mean, there was a little bit of teasing about him not coming, and then it was just like, I don't know. They teased it too much. I don't think it's going to happen yet. And then just out of nowhere, to have this arrow fly out to kill his son, Bjorka getting in the way of that and dying, and he couldn't even bury him. They had to retreat, and that carried on in the next episode with Uhtred just really suffering and everything, taking Canut's kids, that whole thing. It was devastating to see Bjorka go. It really was, because he was the constant by Uhtred's side all the time. He was his moral compass, so to speak, and just to have him die, it sucked. We do get whales in this season, an army of whales as well, and they take an important part into this massive battle between Danes, Saxons, and basically pretty much everybody in this massive battle about halfway through the season. Really loved that battle. Everything about it was awesome. Full on medieval fights, decapitations, just brutalness everywhere. What's his face, the dickhead, takes a head injury and then he dies later on, which I will get to how he dies, which is awesome. I also like Canute and how he died. That was cool. Because I thought, well, how's he going to get his justice here? Because he seems to be well in with Breda. She's pregnant with his kid, but he's unaware of it. And then there's just the final moments with the three of them getting into a fight and everything, and he's unaware that Breda's behind him before he just spills his guts to Uhtred about Ragnar. And yeah, brilliant. What great way to die. He gets killed. Breda kills him. Really good way to go there. Then Breda gets captured by the whales lot, and Uhtred just can't bring himself to let her die, and she gets taken off, tortured and all that kind of stuff. And then when she finally gets released later on, she's after revenge with Uhtred. And again, I love that, because not only is she pregnant for the first time, considering she wasn't going to be getting pregnant before, getting pregnant and having to deal with that, but still being this badass Viking and looking for vengeance on Uhtred. I liked it because at this point it was just like every single time that these two have connected in the past at either ends of the coin, you think, well, there's going to be something here that stops them from killing each other, because there's always something, because they've got that kind of kindred spirit together. They've been through a lot together. But after this, it was just like, no, she's lost it. She's gone insane. She wants him dead. And it plays a part so much later in seasons. That is her main focus, is I will do whatever it takes to get hold of him, and it's brilliant. Really good character development. It was really hard to take serious to one of those whales guys, the main guy that kind of tortured Breda and then she tortured him and hung him, because he was the guy from Four Lions and White Gold, and it's just, oh god, it's so hard to take him serious. One thing I'm a little bit kind of meh about is this whole sickness thing that kind of pops up halfway through the season. It kind of made it out of nowhere. People are trying to avoid it, and they stop people from coming into certain towns and all this kind of stuff to stop it spreading, which is ringing true considering everything that's going on in the world at the moment. That's just a weird thing to be watching, given what's going on at the moment in real life. But it just kind of popped up out of nowhere and gave some sickness to is it Ethelfled, the daughter, the sister, the one that's Altered is with for a little bit, and she gets sick, but then she gets better, and it's just like, and then out of nowhere after that, it's like the sickness is just forgotten about, and it's never mentioned again. I was just kind of like, just felt like a little bit of a plot point just to kind of fill some time, really, and I just thought it was a little bit meh. If you didn't really need that to be there, maybe cut it down and shave it off and just have like 8 episodes instead of 10. It just seemed a little bit pointless for it to be in there in hindsight. Let's talk about Citric. I think that's how you say it, Citric or Citric, I can't say it properly. I really liked his character because at the very start when you see him, it's like, oh, it's just another kind of cannon fodder Dane person that they're going to have to take on and ultimately Altered or someone is going to kill. But as time went on, he got some real development and some real change in him, and I liked the fact that from the start you think he's just going to be another Dane, he's going to be another guy that wants power and destruction and death and blah blah blah. But then as time goes on, you just realise, no, he doesn't want power, glory and gold and death. He just wants knowledge, wisdom, strategy. He just becomes this person that just, he's very calm and collective, he's very thought process, he wants to learn about things and not just his own stuff, everything around him. He just wants to learn and find out about everything and just become more knowledgeable, and I ended up really liking the character. I didn't expect that from the character, I generally didn't. I thought it'd just be a nobody, and he ended up being a character I actually quite am very looking forward to seeing more of. Ethelred, I think that's his name. Right, let's get to him. He gets a head injury obviously, and then he dies in the bed because that dude who just goes mental and just becomes an absolute dick because he's so desperate, ends up killing him by just like basically squeezing his head while he's injured and just kills him. And that was a brutal way to go. Fair enough, because the guy was a dick anyway, but oh god, it was brutal, and that kind of splits him and his sister up and everything, and it was a brutal death, and I quite liked it. I didn't expect that to be the way. I thought they were just going to go with the, oh, he just died in his sleep because of the head injury, but to see him just brutally murder him, that was cool. Hester keeps popping up quite a few times, and just at the end of it, when the season was done, he just did the same thing he always does. I don't want to fight, I'm off. And it's just, I like the character, but I'm feeling like maybe he's run his course, and I feel like next season he has to die. I honestly thought he was going to die in this season. I thought his time's up, there's not really anything else for him to do. He doesn't want to fight anymore, so naturally he's got to be killed somewhere. There were times in this season where it made me feel like, is this the last season? Because they haven't announced that they're doing a season 5, but then again they never announced that this was the final season, and most TV shows do that. This is the last one, but it just, every now and then I was like, are they going to do it? Is it going to be like Altered's time and he'll die and this will be the end and that'll be over? But then there was something, no, they're teasing more, and then in like the final episode they teased a lot more to be going, well, we're definitely carrying on with it, and obviously, you know, with Uhtred not dying, it's just like, well, they're obviously going to carry on. Apologies for forgetting the names again, but the brother, his death, fair enough, guy was a weasel, guy was an asshole, and it kind of hammered home the point of Citric and his idea process, and the fact that we shouldn't be all doing things for single gain and doing everything and using other people as pawns for our separate reasons, and we should all be one, we should all be joined. And it's kind of like the Dane's version of Alfred. He's basically just saying we should all be one, we should all live in harmony together, and I like that again, I've said, I like that character, and this hammered home that point with his death, because he just wanted, like, well, this is a guy that is in it for himself and he'll do whatever it takes to get whatever he wants to keep himself safe. We can't have this, kill him. And that was, yeah, great. The stupidity of Edward in this whole season, really, it just shows how not ready he is to be king, but he obviously thrust upon him because of Alfred's death last season, and it shows so many times that he's so desperate to live up to how well, like, renowned and well, like, loved Alfred was. And he's not, and he's still trying to find his place. He's still quite young, he's still quite headstrong, but he's just making loads of mistakes because he just knows he can't live up to his dad, and he's trying to find that balance. It's really hard because he wants to listen to certain people but then not listen to others, and then he wants to think for himself, but then he knows when he's got to say no and say yes, and it's very difficult for him. And the actor, can't remember his name, but he did very well in this to kind of hammer that home that he's not ready for this, but he has to do it, and trying to find that balance to keep everybody happy and everybody at peace and doing the right thing. Uhtred getting lands and then straight away giving it to his missus, which is the sister. Is it Ethelfled? I think that's her name. Again, I apologise. Then she gets, and basically that's it. The brother and the sister are in charge of the two parts of the main part of the country, and that's great. And Uhtred is essentially doing what Alfred did by putting them together and having them kind of unionise, and that's great. The final siege, it lasts 30 days, and and then finally in the final episode, it's like they do get in, but it's all to do with Uhtred and bargaining himself for the two kids, and that's all great. I love that. That shows that Uhtred is literally willing to do anything to make peace, and then he bargains things, and they all end up like getting in there, having a bit of a fight. It all gets stopped, and they all kind of discuss everything, and it all kind of sorts itself out, and they basically, you can have this, we'll have this, everybody goes their separate ways, we're all happy, job done. And it was nice because I didn't expect this in the final episode. I expected full-on carnage and war and everything, and that bit was over quite quickly, and then to kind of end like this with this kind of negotiation kind of process, pushing into the next season. Yeah, it was quite good, and they definitely left a few cliffhangers at the end to kind of make you go, oh, next season is going to be filled with some good moments. Alfred's missus unnecessarily being poisoned, and the last thing we see is near death's door just because of that dickhead. I don't know his name. I hate him because he's just whispering in everybody's ear, or mainly the king's ear. And he's wandering free while she's about to die. Breed at Uhtred confrontation, she does stab him, and she again tries to say, kill me, just take me out, I don't want to be here, blah blah blah. And again he sends her on her way by herself, and the last thing we see of her is giving birth, or about to give birth, against a tree in the wilderness, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. I mean, people are going on saying, oh, it's going to be a boy, but I'm kind of hoping it's a girl. I'm hoping it's just that she has a go, it takes her off guard, but she'll end up being a strong fighter just like a mum. I would like that. Uhtred's daughter going off with Sihtric. A great way to finish that off. I love the free spirit of his daughter and how she's so much like him, and going off with what someone he thought was their enemy. By the end of it, they're kind of at a kind of level playing field, and she goes off with him. I love that because they've grown to like each other in the time that they spent together, and yeah, it was good. I mean, it was difficult for him to let go and everything. Obviously, his son goes back to the church, so he's scattered away. But it was a good arc for his daughter. The last thing we see of Uhtred is out in the wilderness, all by himself, so he doesn't even have his teammates with him anymore. I think they've stayed in Wessex, and he's out there with the son of Edward, and that's the last thing we see. It's just he's taking him under his wing and kind of building him up, and that's interesting, really interesting, because I don't know what's going to happen there, and that's not how I saw the season ending. It's not how I saw Uhtred ending this season. Like I say, he's not going to have his daughter to kind of bring up because she's too free-spirited. He's not going to do it with his son because he's devoted to the church. So doing it with this kind of blank canvas of a child, really, that you can mould in the way you want to, he could end up being the son that Uhtred always wanted, and I'm very interested in that. And again, it keeps alliances with him and the king because it's his kid, and it's just he's trusting him to bring him up. That whole thing, it just ties them all in together nicely. Overall, season 4 was a good, solid season. It lagged a little bit in the middle with a certain plot point that ended up being irrelevant, but it still made up for it for plenty of politics, character development, shocking deaths, brutal fights and decapitations and all that kind of awesome stuff. And very interesting characters at the end, and plenty of tidbits for certain characters going forward into season 5 to make you look forward to it. So it isn't like the best thing I've ever seen in my life, but it was still a good, solid, serviceable season. It furthered a lot of stuff, and I think it's fair to give it a high 4 stars. So that's what I thought of season 4 of The Last Kingdom. What did you think about it? Let me know down in the comments. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell if you want to find me on social media. Any of these, all links in the description, and I'll see you soon.